5 minutes. Santa Clara, lane 5. Minutes.
All right, we're back with the afternoon session of 2016 IRA National Championships. This is the men's and women's lightweight national championships. We're here in West Windsor, New Jersey. Hopefully everybody that is listening in via YouTube on the U.S. Rowing Channel has a chance to share in some of this amazing racing that's about to take place. This is really one of the drama-filled moments of the first day of racing, in that we're going to see who is able to advance to the semi-final 1 and 2, which will determine places 1 through 12, and those that will be advancing to the 3rd and 4th level semifinals, which will determine places 13 through 24. Conditions right now are really gorgeous. Very, very little wind, if any. The water's flattening out even more so than in the morning. It's a little bit overcast. You can feel the humidity starting to come up a little bit. And as we prepare for the first repechage of the men's Varsity 8s, we're going to be held in the middle of the course, so lanes 2 through 5. They will be in this first repechage: George Washington, Northeastern, Syracuse, and Santa Clara. So each one of these repechages will feature a crew that finished in either 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th in the morning heats. This morning, George Washington was 5th in heat number 3, Northeastern was 3rd from heat number 1, Syracuse was 4th in heat number 4, and Santa Clara was 6th in heat number 2. The crews are aligned. We are less than a minute to the start. Please stand by. So from a strategic standpoint, knowing that only 2 crews could qualify from the morning heats directly to the semifinals, if you were in 3rd or 4th position, you may have been holding back slightly, and now it's time to throw it all out there. Only the first place finisher will advance. And we have a start. You have to imagine that Northeastern in lane 3 is going to do their best to get to an early lead position. And about 15 strokes into the race, it is Northeastern that has an initial 3-seat advantage, throwing their bow out in front. Northeastern rowing 42.5. George Washington and Syracuse are level in lanes 2 and 4. Santa Clara half a length back on the 2nd and 3rd place crews. Both crews in the lead at this point. The 3 leading crews are striding hard.
350 meters in, it's Northeastern with a very slim lead over George Washington and Syracuse. Syracuse has just edged past George Washington for 2nd place, and they are actually challenging right now for the lead from Northeastern. So as we come into 500 meters, it's Northeastern with the slimmest of margins on Syracuse. Maybe a foot, maybe half a foot, depends on who's in the water at that time. It's only 2 seats then back to George Washington, and about 3/4 of a length back to Santa Clara. So Syracuse and Northeastern bow to bow for the last 150 meters or so. Looks like Northeastern a little bit lower than Syracuse. We've got Northeastern at about 36. Syracuse has taken the lead by a seat over Northeastern, 700 meters into the the race. It's then 1/3 of a length further back to George Washington and 3/4 of a length back to Santa Clara. So with one to qualify, this is a deadly fight so far, the first third of the race. Syracuse holding on to that 1-seat lead over Northeastern. George Washington refusing to go away. George Washington half a length behind Northeastern. And Northeastern is drawing level again. Northeastern now rowing stroke for stroke with Syracuse. Their catches, all 16 catches, perfectly in sync, and the bows perfectly lined up. Both crews are rowing 39 as we approach the 1,000-meter mark, and that has pulled them to nearly a length ahead of George Washington. So at the 1,000, it's dead even and stroke for stroke. The black shirts of Northeastern, the orange shirts of Syracuse, both rowing 39 strokes a minute and nothing to choose. So this is about 400 to 500 meters now that they've been dead level. Syracuse now has taken the rate up just a bit, but it's gaining them nothing. As a matter of fact, it's Northeastern that has just edged out to a 1-seat lead with 800 meters to go. It's open water then, back to George Washington and then Santa Clara. The Northeastern lead has grown to 2 seats. Northeastern now with 3 seats over Syracuse. Northeastern at 39. Syracuse trying to maintain pace. They're at 39. Both of these crews fighting hard, one to qualify. Northeastern now just edging ever so close. It's about 1/3 of a length. Northeastern moving away very slowly but steadily. So with 500 meters to go, it's Northeastern now with 1/2 of a length over Syracuse as they fight for the 1 spot into the semifinals. We've then got open water back to George Washington. They're about 1.25 lengths ahead of Santa Clara. Northeastern pulling away from Syracuse.
And into the last 500, Northeastern pulling out to nearly 3/4 of a length over a very, very game Syracuse crew. It's had a nice year there. 1 to advance to the AB semis. So this is down and dirty on these last 4 varsity reps. Northeastern still leading. Looks like maybe they've grown that lead a little. Open water maybe. Most of a length anyway. Crews are going to want to spin it up here and take it home. Conditions look very nice for this afternoon's rowing. Northeastern out in front. 1 to qualify. The other crews will row in the CD semis. And CD according to their finishes here. Northeastern out in front. Long and strong. Syracuse in second place. But it's 1 to advance. Last few strokes. Northeastern shifting again. Up they go. Open water. Northeastern across right. Now. And a little open water. A deck of open. Syracuse now. George Washington now. And Santa Clara now. So Northeastern will move on into the AB semis. Syracuse and George Washington would go to the C final, and Santa Clara would go to the D final, I believe. More to follow as we come up with another set of results here from the morning's rowing. I can give you that. Lightweight 4 without, heat 2. And in first place, Cornell, 623.870. Second place, Harvard, 625.910. Third place, the Naval Academy, 635.120. And fourth, Yale, 637.680. Cornell, Harvard, Navy go to the grand final in men's lightweight 4 withouts, and Yale will be in the petite final.
3 minutes.
somebody was challenging me to do a Punjabi accent or something for one of these things. Start of Repechage number 2 of the men's Varsity 8 in our afternoon session. Looked like some very hot racing from Repechage number 1 with Northeastern and Syracuse going toe-to-toe. And in Rep 2, we have Oregon State, lane 2, Cornell, lane 3, BU, lane 4, and Temple from the great fighting city of Philadelphia in lane 5. From the morning's results, we see that Oregon State was 5th in Heat 4, Cornell was 3rd in Heat 2, BU was 4th in Heat 1, and Temple was 6th in Heat 3. So we're expecting, if things go according to chalk, that Cornell and BU will be battling for the 1 spot that will put them into semifinal 1 and 2. The warm-up area is starting to fill up here, and we're seeing a lot of crews getting in their final high strokes.
No pressure along the race course. No pressure along the race course. That's how we got to do that piece, boys.
What you begin to see from observing and listening to the warm-up starts here is how some crews know this is a pathway to something bigger and better towards the end of the regatta, where other people know that this is their regatta. And so the urgency to perform in the rep is very, very clear. Some coxswains are talking about splits. You hear some of the rowers banging on the side of the boat in excitement, but really a very neat moment to witness down here that you can't really see via camera or by video. The crews are being pulled.
Boston. Temple. Attention. Go.
The starter has... Yes. Big power being generated from the middle lanes between BU and Cornell. The Terriers in the Big Red staring each other down eyeball to eyeball with a lot of power being thrown down. Cornell with an early 3-seat advantage after 20 strokes. Not surprisingly, BU in hot pursuit with Oregon State and Temple attacking along the outsides of the course.
It's a slim lead for Cornell over Boston University, 400 meters in. Second repechage. Both of those crews have about a 3/4 length advantage over Oregon State. Oregon State by a seat or 2 over Temple. But it's 1 seat at the 500 meter mark for Cornell as they lead BU. Looks like BU now trying to take a little move as they start this second 500. BU rowing 38.5 is closing in. Cornell at 37, and those two bows are now nearly level. So that slim early lead for Cornell is now a dead heat. Cornell and Boston University. 3/4 of a length back to Oregon State, and another half length back to Temple. So 700 meters in, Cornell and BU still lockstep, right next to each other, pretty much rowing the same cadence. BU has lengthened out again. And it's 37.5 for BU, 37 for Cornell, and they were jousting there. The bows were trading places up until about now, when BU has edged in front. They've again got a seat. Now it's 2 seats, so it's Boston University, 2 seats over Cornell, approaching the 1,000-meter mark. 1 length back to Oregon State, and another length to Temple. So at the 1,000, it's going to be Boston University, rowing 37.5 with a quarter length lead over Cornell, who has just ripped it up to 39 for a burst. They don't want Boston University getting too far ahead, and that little burst is working. They're nosing back. It's about 3.5 seats now. BU over Cornell. Both of these crews really throwing them in. BU's gone up to 39. Cornell at 38.5. And BU beginning to draw away again. With 800 meters to go, BU has regained a little bit more lead. It's about a third of a length now for Boston University over Cornell. Then it's open water back to Oregon State and then Temple. Yeah, BU's taking another burst at this point. BU gone to 39.5. That's given them now a half a length lead. Cornell knows they have to respond. If they don't respond, they don't want BU getting too much further ahead. But BU does look nice and relaxed, nice and clean. They're rowing 38.5, approaching 500 meters. Very nice body movement, and that's pulling them away. It's now nearly a length for Boston University over Cornell. Cornell has gone to 39 as they try to stop this march by BU. But BU has now had a first splash of open water. It's BU by 2 feet of open water. BU at 43. Desperately chasing Cornell at 41. That was awesome.
And inside, 500 meters to go. Boston University had a dynamite third 500 and has pulled out to nearly a length's lead, maybe a few feet of open water over Cornell. BU just pouring it on. Last 35. The question remains, can Cornell rally, spin that rate up and gain? But it looks like Boston University is holding their own. A little nice, relaxed look to their rowing. So 25 to go here. It's Boston University, then Cornell. 1 crew to advance to that AB semi tomorrow. BU holding a little less than a length. Cornell's come back into them a bit, but just a few strokes left, and it's most of a length here. Boston University sitting up tall. Didn't spin it up all that much. BU now just a foot or two less than a full length. Cornell across. Oregon State in third. And Temple yet to cross the line, but coming in like they mean it here. And Temple right now. So Boston University will advance to the AB semifinal. Cornell and Oregon State would be, I believe, in the C final and the C semi and C and D semi, as will Hobart. Temple, I think I said Hobart. Temple. And we'll move right on up to the starting line for, and we also, before we move up, we have results from the men's Varsity 8. Repechage won. In first place, moving on to the AB semifinal, Northeastern, 548.490. Second place, Syracuse, 552.700. Third place, George Washington, 557.380. And fourth place, Santa Clara, 603.740.
just had the 3-minute call for repechage number 3 of the men's varsity 8s. Lane 2, FIT. Lane 3, Stanford. Lane 4, Wisconsin. And lane 5 will be Hobart. Stanford was 3rd in the 3rd heat. FIT was 5th in heat number 1. Wisconsin was 4th in heat number 2. And Hobart was 6th in heat number 4. Again, this is going to be one boat to qualify.
2 minutes.
And the battle between Stanford and Wisconsin, I'm sure, will have to happen over the entire distance. What we're seeing now with some of the crews having, or all of these crews, this being their second race, the speed and the maintenance of that speed in the second 1,000 is really critical. You're not going to be able to convince the second place crew to conserve because there's nothing to conserve for. This is going to be one of the more exciting races of the afternoon. Conditions here at the start, maybe a slight breeze moving across from lanes 7 through to 1, maybe a slight crosshead, but really negligible. Perfect water conditions. And this amount of calm quiet before the start is just about as uncomfortable for the rowers as it is for those of us watching.
Florida.
Polling has begun.
Wisconsin. Hobart. Attention.
Go. Boats are underway. You can really see all 4 crews trying to leverage their boat to the finish line at max speed. The challenge is to get the boats up to maximum speed in the first 7 to 15 strokes. And there is nothing in it between the 3 leading crews. FIT, Stanford, and Wisconsin. Every crew in red. And the boats are level. 40 seconds in. They have a almost 7-seat advantage on Hobart, who trails, but it is 3 boats across for that one final position. This is going to be a good one. Passing it off to Fred and Bob in the chase launch.
Well, the early stages of this next repechage has quite a battle going on at 400 meters. It's Wisconsin by a couple of feet over Stanford. Stanford by a couple of feet over Florida Institute of Technology. And then it's about 1 length back to Hobart. So we're crossing 500 meters. It's Stanford drawing level with Wisconsin and possibly poking their nose in front. FIT, however, refusing to go away still. They're only about 3 seats down to Stanford. So it's Stanford by 2 seats over Wisconsin. Wisconsin by 1 seat over FIT, and then a length back to Hobart. Stanford beginning to go into cruise control here. Stanford moving away. They've got now a third of a length over Wisconsin. Stanford rowing 37. Definitely making a charge here in the second 500. It's now half a length for Stanford. But that half a length is over FIT, who has not only caught Wisconsin at 750 meters, they've gone a seat ahead of them. Stanford now by 2/3 of a length over FIT. FIT by 2 seats over Wisconsin, and then a little bit of open water back to Hobart. Stanford rowing with some real purpose here, real determination. They're at 38, and they now have nearly 1 length over FIT. It's about a foot or two closed length. FIT with 4 seats now over Wisconsin. So crossing the 1,000, it is 1 length for Stanford over Florida Institute of Technology. FIT now with nearly half a length on Wisconsin. This Stanford boat has dropped its rate now to about 35.5, 36, but they've got about 4 feet of open water over FIT. FIT is still rowing very determined. They're at 36.5, and they're beginning to nose away from Wisconsin. FIT has 3/4 of a length over Wisconsin, who's rowing 36. But it's Stanford going to the fore. 750 meters to go, and it's about 1/4 of a length of open water for Stanford. Just 1 spot transferring into those semifinals, and right now Stanford has really made a purposeful statement about taking that slot. It's still FIT in second. They now have a length over Wisconsin. 600 meters to go. Stanford still bearing down. They've dropped their rate down to 35, 35.5, but you can really see the muscling behind that oar handle. They've now got 1/3 of a length of open water over FIT as they cross the 500 meter mark. So it's Stanford pulling away from Florida Tech, a little bit of open water over Wisconsin, and then back to Hobart. So Stanford, they started early in that second 500, and they have kept that motor running. They've gone to 37. They have now nearly 2 lengths over Florida Tech. FIT with a little open water over Wisconsin, with Hobart trailing.
And inside the last 500 meters, Stanford out in front by open water. FIT holding down that second slot, Wisconsin in third. This is where one crew only will advance to the AB semis, and it looks to be Stanford, who completely under control. Doesn't look like they're going to jack the rate up at all, just bring it on home. If FIT can get up there and put a little pressure on them, maybe they will. But it's Stanford who took control just after the 500-meter mark and has continued to spin that boat along very well. They're open water out here, very comfortable coming home. Stanford, then FIT, then Wisconsin, then Hobart. Stanford coming up on the line here, a length of open water. It's Stanford. FIT holding a little open water on Wisconsin, and it's FIT now. Here's Wisconsin, about a deck open back on FIT now. Hobart well back. Last few strokes for the Statesman of Hobart. Right now. So Stanford moves into the AB semis tomorrow morning. Wisconsin, FIT, I should say Wisconsin and Hobart to the CD semis. Men's Varsity 8s. It's Repechage 2, the unofficial results. First place, Boston University, 545.890. Second place, Cornell, 548.940. Third place, Oregon State, 554.840. And fourth place, Temple, 613.440. Boston University moves forward to the AB semis. Cornell, Oregon State, and Temple to the CD semis.
Repechage number 4 of the Varsity 8s is getting aligned at this point. In lane 2, Drexel. Lane 3, Dartmouth. In lane 4, Pennsylvania. And lane 5, Oklahoma.
2 minutes.
This is we just had the 2-minute call, and this is the final repechage for the Varsity 8 event. The rep winner will get a chance to race for a spot in the grand final and will be guaranteed a spot in the top 12, whereas the remaining crews will have a chance to race for places 13 through 24. The IRA is such a fascinating event because you have crews from all over the country that race in different leagues that have highly different expectations. Very few crews come into the event with the expectation that they can win, but there are others that are trying to move up in the national standings, crews that are really excited to have earned their way here and get a chance to race against the best programs in the country. And some crews that are using this as a stepping stone that may eventually go and race at IRA Regatta. So there are lots of different storylines that we don't often get a chance to understand here. But each one of these crews is going to be gunning for that one spot in the semifinal, first and second semifinals. Crews are being polled. The crews are underway. Looks to us like in lane 3 and in lane 4 we have 2 crews rowing a pretty hot start. Dartmouth seems to not have left the start. We have a false start. The race has been stopped. We've got flags and whistles and announcements. The race is stopped. Yeah. So the crews are now being returned to the start. This is the first thing that has gone a little bit different. We're going to try and get the story for you about exactly why Dartmouth didn't leave the blocks. Typically the coxswains are instructed if they are not straight, or if somebody jumps a slide or has some form of breakage that happens, coxswains are instructed not to leave. They're able to protest results only if they don't leave the start. So it's one of the hardest things to do, though, when all the other crews are racing away from you. And so we've got to give a lot of credit to the Dartmouth coxswain for, if he or she didn't feel like she was going to get a correct result or a fair start, to not leave. And you have to imagine that for the 3 crews that were just blasting away and had rode about a full 45 seconds to a minute of their best pace. What is going through their minds right now? Some might have said, we had a really good start and man, we can't wait to do it again. Others may have said, hey, we can do a better job. But either way, the crews are rowing straight up the course back to in their lanes, back to the start. I'm not sure if the crews know this, but we can hear their conversations up here in the starting booth, and I think everyone's eager to do an even better job off the start. This very experienced and skilled umpiring and referee team is going to get these crews turned, locked on, and aligned as quick as possible so that we can stay as close to schedule as possible. From our vantage point, it looked like Dartmouth did not leave the starting area, so we're going to assume it's not breakage and may have had something else that occurred. We see that Oklahoma has turned. It's getting into position. One of the things that I really love seeing is that the crews are so focused and in their concentrated tunnel that they couldn't even see that a red flag was being waved and that there are people yelling to stop rowing and sirens going off, and the crews are still in their racing zone. So that gives you a good clue about just how focused these athletes are. And that's what they're being coached to do, is that nothing else should matter outside of their own lane but for getting their crew to go from point A to point B as fast as possible. The referee launches are exiting the course. We're going to need at least a minute or so to let the wakes dissipate, to make sure the race course is as fair as possible.
Gentlemen, once we have alignment, we will restart your race.
The announcers just talked about saying that once we have realigned the crews, that the start will happen momentarily. So you can almost imagine a 100-meter dash at the World Championships or the Olympics, where one of the sprinters jumps out early and commits a false start. This is exactly the opposite, where somebody doesn't leave and they call back the people who did start. But either way, the tension increases. The crews are being pulled.
Oklahoma City. Attention. Go.
And the crews have restarted. So that was about a 6-minute gap from the initial start to the new start. And in lanes 3 and lanes 4, Dartmouth and Pennsylvania are all... There is nothing in it between the two Ivy League crews. Drexel only 1 seat back. Dartmouth with 1 foot on Penn. Penn striding down to a lower rating earlier than Dartmouth. and both crews in the middle of the course are starting to slide away from both Drexel and Oklahoma City. Over to Fred and Bob.
So it's Dartmouth now with a very slim lead of about a seat over Pennsylvania, 400 meters in. Those two crews about 2/3 of a length ahead of Drexel, another half length back Oklahoma City. So Dartmouth and Penn battling for the lead. It looks like Penn is beginning to draw level. Approaching 500 meter mark, it is now Penn and Dartmouth level for the lead, not quite a length over Drexel. Drexel about 1/3 of a length now over Oklahoma City. So Pennsylvania, down just slightly early, has now gone slightly in front. It's Pennsylvania now by about 1 seat. Penn's rowing 37.5. Dartmouth about 1 seat back, but they've gone to 39 for a burst here. 39.5 now, and they're trying to get back on level terms with Penn, and they have. So Penn had gone through. Dartmouth has jacked it up. They're at 40 still as we cross 750. And it's Dartmouth level with Penn, but overstroking them by about 4 beats. Penn's at 36.5. Dartmouth now down to 39, but those two bows are level, 1 length in front of Drexel. Then it's a little open water back to Oklahoma City. So those two crews in front now, Penn and Dartmouth, sort of trading the lead every catch, every finish. They're really locked onto each other. The bow balls just nudging in front of one another. Whoever's on the drive and whoever's on the recovery. And as they cross the 1,000, it's virtually level. It looks like Pennsylvania trying to make a little move again. It is Pennsylvania trying to move, and they are moving. Penn at 36.5 has suddenly burst into a 2.5 seat lead over Dartmouth. It's Dartmouth still at 39. Now nearly a length ahead of George Washington. So Dartmouth did a lot of the work early. Penn trying to do the work now in the third 500, and they've got a deck on Dartmouth. 750 meters to go, coming right up. And it's Penn by 1/3 of a length. We'll see if that strokes per minute has worn Dartmouth down or whether they still have something in the tank. Penn with a little burst up to 38, and they've moved out to nearly half a length on Dartmouth. Dartmouth down to 37, but they find themselves under attack from Drexel. Drexel still a factor in this race. It's Pennsylvania by 3/4 of a length over Dartmouth at 600 meters to go, but it's Drexel closing in quickly on Dartmouth. Drexel has gone to 39, trying to get back into this piece. And as they cross 500, it's Pennsylvania, not quite a length ahead of Dartmouth. Dartmouth about a half a length ahead of Drexel. So Penn slightly behind early on, rode level with Dartmouth for about 600 meters, and now they're starting to pull away to nearly a length at 37 strokes a minute.
Into the last 500. Pennsylvania holding with about 3/4 of a length over Dartmouth. Drexel making a big push in the outside there, trying to get up into Drexel, trying to come on up into Pennsylvania. One crew will advance, and this is the last crew to go forward into that CD semi tomorrow morning. Pennsylvania holding on here with, half a length plus. Drexel's really coming up on the outside there, trying to make it interesting there with Dartmouth. Dartmouth did so well in the early going there, but it's Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania leading by half a length, deciding whether they're going to spin it up, and they are. Here they go, revving it up for the sprint here. Dartmouth has moved up just a little bit. They've come back a little from where they were, but it looks like it's going to be Pennsylvania by, half a boat, maybe 5 seats, 6 seats. Pennsylvania, now Dartmouth, now Drexel, now Oklahoma City coming on through here shortly. Got a hand up from that Dartmouth coxswain, so the referee's boat will be going over to see what that's all about. Pennsylvania, Dartmouth, Drexel, and here's Oklahoma City. With a hand up, our first protest of the day, and Oklahoma City crossing the line.
Oregon State, Columbia,
We have
Pennsylvania,
men's
Georgia.
varsity 8s, Repechage 3, the unofficial results. Stanford 1.
Attention. Go.
Okay, I know we had a quick start and turnaround there, so we didn't quite see the last repechage of the men's varsity 8, but the men's second varsity 8, repechage number 1, Oregon State, Columbia, Penn, George Washington, Syracuse, and Hobart is underway. Something awfully exciting about 6-lane racing. A lot of energy. Early leaders, Columbia, with George Washington and Penn level. Oregon State and Syracuse, the two crews in orange, in lane 1 and 5. They are also level, with Hobart challenging from the far lane. It looks though that Columbia is starting to slide. Looking very relaxed, low in the shoulders, blade work pretty sharp, very clean rowing from Columbia right now. And it is getting them somewhere as they approach the 500-meter mark. The three leading crews, Columbia, Penn, and George Washington.
So we're picking up the repechage of the second varsity 8 at 750 meters. Right now it looks like Columbia with a nice start, a nice first 600 rather. Looks like they're in front. We'll get a little better perspective soon. Closely following, it looks like Pennsylvania, George Washington. Two of these crews will go through to the semifinal, and as they cross 750, it is indeed Columbia. They have about a third of a length over both Pennsylvania and George Washington. Then it's about 2/3 of a length further back to Syracuse, a couple of more seats back to Oregon State, and then about a half a length back to Hobart. So it's Columbia with half a length. Penn and George Washington still bow to bow. That's going to be a good fight for second place if it stays like that. We're coming up to the 1,000-meter mark. At the 1,000, it's going to be Columbia breaking the plane first. Columbia, rowing 38, has about a 1/2 length lead over Pennsylvania, who has just taken about a seat lead over George Washington. Penn jacked it up to 41 there, and it got them a little bit of an edge over George Washington. But now George Washington is responding. George Washington at 37 has drawn level with Penn again. So that little push by Penn was only temporary. Behind Penn and George Washington, we've still got Syracuse, not quite a length back. And then Oregon State, half a length behind Syracuse, half a length ahead of Hobart. Columbia really striding now. 750 meters to go. They're at 38, and their coxswain is on the bow ball of Pennsylvania and George Washington. Pulling gently away from the field, Columbia looks very relaxed, even though they're rowing pretty high. They're at 38-39 now with it's less than 700 to go. It's about 650 to go. And this fight for second place has Penn by 2 seats over George Washington, but Syracuse closing back in on those two. So as we approach 500, it's Columbia now, also under some attack from Penn. The field is coming back on Columbia. That's now down to 2/3 of a length, Columbia over Penn. Pennsylvania with 1/3 of a length over George Washington. George Washington with 1/2 a length over Syracuse.
And into the last 500. Columbia leading. Pennsylvania pushing up into Columbia. There are 2 crews to advance from this rep. And thus far, it's Pennsylvania and Columbia looking likely to be those 2 crews. Columbia leading, Pennsylvania trailing, but Pennsylvania pushing up into things here. Making a push right now for that lead. So far, Columbia's still out, but Penn has moved up into them a bit. George Washington held second place for a while. Let's see if they can make a comeback here on Pennsylvania. Columbia out in front, most of a length. Penn, most of a length up on GW. Coming down to the last 20 strokes or so, less. 15 strokes. Columbia, Pennsylvania. Here comes GW trying to make it interesting. Last few strokes. Columbia just about a full length up on Penn. Penn most of a length up on GW. There's Columbia, Penn, GW, Syracuse in 4th, Hobart, and on the far side, Oregon State. So Columbia and Pennsylvania will move forward to the AB semis. George Washington, Syracuse, Hobart, and Oregon State will row in the reps. The CD, I should say, semis. The CD semis.
Drexel, Northeastern, Navy, Cornell, Dartmouth, attention, go.
In the first and second semifinals, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th place crews will advance to the 3rd level final. So if you were 1st and 2nd in this race, you are guaranteeing yourself top 12 in the country. Thrusting their bow out in front is Northeastern in lane 2, followed very closely by Cornell, with Navy, Dartmouth, and Drexel level. We'll have to see if Navy, with 2 crews that are sliding away from them on either side, whether or not they can keep their powder dry and get back into the race. But it appears to be Cornell and Northeastern taking the early swing at the 2 qualifying positions for the semifinals. It's going to be interesting racing for the coxswains in the far lanes and the very middle lane to see. They all can see the leaders. Can they get their crew to respond either with technique or power? Getting ready for Bob and Fred.
We're crossing 500 meters. Second repechage into second varsity 8s, and it's Cornell with a very nice opening. They've got a half a length on Northeastern. Northeastern, 3/4 of a length on Navy. Navy only a seat or two on Dartmouth, and Dartmouth with only a few seats on Drexel. So Cornell, half a length, maybe a touch more now, getting closer to 2/3 of a length lead on Northeastern. Cornell rowing nice and long. They're at 37. Approaching 750, they have now 3/4 of a length. Northeastern rowing a little higher. Northeastern at 39, but unable to stop that Cornell move. The Cornell coxswain is now past the bow ball of the Northeastern boat. Northeastern, meanwhile, has 2/3 of a length on Dartmouth, who has taken over 3rd place. Dartmouth has about a deck on Navy. Navy with half a length on Drexel. So Cornell, very close to a length lead now. Northeastern still in second, and it looks like Northeastern may be pulling away from the rest of the pack. So, at the 1,000 meters, it's Cornell at 36 strokes a minute in first. They are almost exactly 1 length ahead of Northeastern. Northeastern almost exactly a length in front of both Navy and Dartmouth, who are level, and then 3/4 of a length further back to Drexel. Cornell's dropped down to 35. They've got just a couple of feet of open water for the first time over Northeastern. Northeastern takes its rate up again. Northeastern's rowing 39 with about 800 meters to go, trying to hang on to Cornell. It's Navy 1 length behind Northeastern. Navy at 38 is closing back in on Northeastern. So they are now overlapped again with Northeastern. Then it's 1/3 of a length back to Dartmouth and another 3/4 of a length back to Drexel. So it's 5 feet of open water for the Big Red. The Cornell. Second is Northeastern still, and they have seen that charge from Navy and they've stopped it. But it's still a closed length with about 600 meters to go. So fighting for that all-important second spot, it looks like Navy trying to put on another charge. Crossing 500, Cornell, the little open water over Northeastern. The Navy bow ball is up to the coxswain of the Northeastern boat. 3/4 of a length back is Dartmouth, and then another length back to Drexel. So can Navy mount one more charge?
And inside the 500 meters, it's Cornell out in front, two to advance. Northeastern's been holding that second slot. The Naval Academy came up and put that bow ball up into the bow 7 seat, but Northeastern just at the 500 seemed to rally and pull back out. It's Cornell out in front, Northeastern in second, the Naval Academy in third, with about 25 to 30 strokes left. You'll see these buoys change color. That's 250, 25 strokes roughly. And Northeastern making a little run out here at Cornell. But Cornell's still sitting pretty safely out there in the first place. Both these crews, if they can hold their position, will advance into the AB semis. Cornell, Northeastern, Navy back most of a length on Northeastern. Cornell with a little better than half a length, 3/4 of a length out there. Here's Cornell at the line. Now, Northeastern. Now, holding just a nearly a length on Navy now. Dartmouth, who Navy came by in the middle part of the race, now. And Drexel over on the far side. Right now. So advancing into the AB semi will be Cornell and Northeastern. Navy, Dartmouth, and Drexel will go to the CD semis. Results: men's varsity 8s, Repechage 3, First, Stanford. Second, FIT. Third, Wisconsin. Fourth, Hobart. Men's varsity 8s. Rep 4. First, Pennsylvania. Second, Dartmouth. Third, Drexel. And fourth, Oklahoma City.
3 minutes.
And men's second varsity 8s. Rep 1. First place, Columbia. Second place, Pennsylvania. Third place, George Washington. Fourth place, Syracuse. Fifth place, Hobart. And sixth place, Oregon State.
Men's third varsity 8, repechage number 1. The progression here is 3 boats to semifinal 1 and 2, with the remaining 3 boats in this heat and the remaining 2 boats in the second repechage, who will advance to the third level final. Lane 1, Syracuse. Lane 2, George Washington. Lane 3, Dartmouth. Lane 4, Cornell. Lane 5, Pennsylvania. And Lane 6, Hobart. We've had the 2-minute call. The crews are sitting with their blades flat on the water. Some crews are keeping them square. It's really a matter of choice, as the crews have not yet been polled. As a coach and an athlete, you probably want your people to be relaxed and ready, but also very alert for any expectant things like off the start. Again, with third varsity 8s, these will be athletes number 17 through 24 in many of these programs.
Pennsylvania.
Crews are being polled.
Attention. Go.
Interesting to see some of the crews steering right off the start, which is an issue when on port and starboard you're trying to generate your maximum force. Good start from Dartmouth and Cornell. George Washington in the near lane, also producing some good early speed. Not surprisingly, only 35 seconds in, it takes a lot to generate a lead. And Cornell is doing it. They have a 2-seat lead over Dartmouth, who has a 1-seat lead on George Washington, who is level with Penn. Syracuse.
And Cornell is leading this first rep for the JV Heavies, 3V Heavies, check that. And it is very tightly grouped after that. So Cornell probably has 3 seats over Dartmouth. Very tight then
Dartmouth maybe has a seat over GW. GW has 2 seats over Penn. Penn has a half a length over Syracuse. And Syracuse very close to Hobart, but I'd give Syracuse the edge. Cornell extending its lead now with 500 meters in. Call it 5 seats over Dartmouth, but that's the race. It's 2 to go through now to the semi. 3 to go through. That's right. It was different from the last progression. So top 3. So right now it would be Cornell, Dartmouth, and then a great race between George Washington and Pennsylvania. Syracuse about 7 seats back of that pack, and then on the outside, Hobart trailing Syracuse by about 4 seats. Big Red looking strong here. Is 750 meters in, try and take another push to get out. Another seat or 2 over Dartmouth now is emerging as the strongest second place competitor here. And they are now a half a length ahead of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania took a nice move to put some distance between themselves and George Washington. So Dartmouth and Penn duking it out for that second spot. Give the edge to Dartmouth at the moment. And let's see who's been clever about the rating and not gone too ballistic. Dartmouth now 37, turning over pretty good. 36 and a half. Cornell now just has a full length at halfway. Cornell goes through the halfway mark first. Their interesting rhythm. Cornell sort of gathers in the bow a little bit, just a hesitation in the bow, and then the hands come around and the shoulders come out. But it's uniform. It's done all together. And they're making the boat fly. So Cornell having a good row, as is Dartmouth. Dartmouth now is still a strong second place. They've held off the charge from Pennsylvania. And but right now it looks like Syracuse is putting a big 10 in here, just past the third, well, coming up to the 12:50 to go. Syracuse is coming up to challenge George Washington and Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, Hobart is trailing. But Cornell comfortably in front. Then it's going to be Dartmouth. Dartmouth turning over pretty high, but so far it's working for them, and they've got almost a full length on Penn and GW now. Penn has fallen back, and they are now in 4th place. I think George Washington in 3rd, and Syracuse is challenging Pennsylvania for the 4th spot. Coming up to 500 to go. Big Red, very comfortable. They seem to have the most boat speed here, but Dartmouth giving them all they can handle. And Dartmouth's clearly in 2nd now. So the question is going to be, who is going to be 3rd? George Washington or Pennsylvania?
Inside the 500 meters, it's Cornell. Dartmouth has come on very strongly to establish themselves in that 2nd slot, and George Washington has passed Pennsylvania for the 3rd slot. And in this race, 3 crews advanced to the AB semis. So that 3rd place is of great value. And way on the outside, Syracuse has mustered it up. They're bringing it up into GW. So the racing is on the far side of Cornell, then Dartmouth, then GW, with Syracuse mounting a challenge on the far side. They're all going to need to spin it up because there's not that much difference in these crews. But Cornell has held serve there all the way out in the lead. Dartmouth has come up very strongly. And here comes Penn back in. No, here comes George Washington back up in here. George Washington making a challenge to Dartmouth. It's Cornell. It's Dartmouth. It's GW. 3 will advance. You're seeing it right out in front right now. Cornell by a little better than half a length. Dartmouth by a half a length minus. GW by open water over the other 2 crews. Cornell at the line, 2/3 of a length up. Dartmouth half a length up. GW open water out on Penn and Syracuse, and I think it's Syracuse then Penn. So those two crews advancing to, those three crews, I should say, advancing to the CD, Cornell, Dartmouth, and George Washington. And we got another crew on the course, Hobart, finishing up here right now. Got some results here. Men's second varsity 8's rep 2, Cornell, first place. Second place, Northeastern. Third place, Navy. Fourth place, Dartmouth. And fifth place, Drexel.
Minutes.
Third Varsity 8 Repechage number 2. This event will feature Drexel, Oregon State.
Minutes.
Should be back on.
I think we were not broadcasting there, so now we're back. Small technical difficulties. So we've already had the 2-minute call. We're about 1 minute to polling. This is the Repechage number 2 of the third Varsity 8s. Lane 1, Drexel. Lane 2, Oregon State. Lane 3, California. Lane 4, Yale. Lane 5, Navy. So this is going to be the last 8s race of the day that we're going to see. Following this, we'll have the repechage for the men's varsity 4s. What's exciting about these deeper varsity events is that you may see some more parity between traditional power schools and some smaller schools. So we wouldn't necessarily expect to see Cal in the third Varsity 8 repechage, but here they are.
Navy. Attention. Go.
And we are underway. You can see some crews getting away with very, very clean, sharp blade work. Others may be going a little bit deep, throwing up some whitewater. But either way, they're going for maximum physicality as they're looking for that early lead within the first 20 strokes. 25 seconds in, Cal, 1 seat. Yale, Navy, level, along with Oregon State. Drexel slightly off the pace, crossing 250 in 43 seconds. Now it's not only about physicality, but also about the efficiency. Who can move the boat more per stroke? Over to you, Bob and Fred.
All right, a great race here in this other second rep of the 3V Heavies. California looking very comfortable and lengthy. I would say are leading Yale, closely followed back a bit is Drexel here in lane 1. But Yale passes through the first 500, about 3 seats up over California's 3 seats up over Yale. Yale has about half a length up, not quite a half a length up on Oregon State and Navy. I'm trying to get some ratings here. Seems to be a much more relaxed pace here, at least for California. California, that 34 again. I think Mike Taty's resorted to taking the rating down and having his guys powered through. So they're looking good at 34, but they're being challenged by Yale right now. Yale's come up a couple seats. They're probably a beat or two higher. Let's see where Yale is. Yeah, 36 and a half for Yale. They came up a little bit, and then Cal, I think, took another 5 or something. And those two crews are pulling away from Oregon State and Navy now. They're California's almost a length up on Oregon State, with Yale drafting right beside them. So Yale is not going away. Yale is right with Cal. Then Oregon State still has a seat or two over Navy, but let's see if Navy's going to put something in it. And then Drexel is trailing, open water behind those two. Oh, here a yell from the field. Somebody's getting ready to take a move. And Cal is starting to pour it on here. Now they're getting some margin over Yale. They've got 7 or 8 seats over Yale, and look pretty smooth in the process. Again, top 3, so the race here is for 3rd. The Navy and Oregon State are the contenders for that position. So Yale plugging away at 36. Let's see, I think Navy's making a push right now. Navy at 37, so it looks like they went up. I think they're maybe have taken over 3rd spot from Oregon State. And Oregon State is 37, I think, themselves. Not a little under. But Navy right now, that's the race, is Navy and Oregon State. And Navy, I think, is, from our perspective, come up on Yale, which means they probably come up on Oregon State. But the angle is a little bit hard to determine. Very tight between those two. California is just, business as usual, just taking care of business in the 3rd 500 here as they approach the last 500 meters. Yale is about almost a full length back of Cal, and then Yale has about 7 seats up on Navy. I think Navy has 2 or 3 seats on Oregon State. So let's see if the midshipmen can hold on to that, or if Oregon State is going to have an answer in this spectacularly painted hull of theirs, the red, white, and blue stripes on the front of the Oregon State boat. I think Navy's definitely starting to inch out on Oregon State now. And that's the order: Cal, Yale, and Navy, as we turn it over to the tower.
3rd level reps, leading crew, California, followed by Yale. Yale being challenged by the Naval Academy. Oregon State still holding overlap on the Naval Academy. But 1st through 4th is not a lot, and 3 places advance, so we're going to have a dandy race for that last slot, I think. California comfortably leading. Yale in 2nd. Navy pushing up into Yale. Oregon State trying to make a move on the outside. 3 to advance. 4 crews in the battle here. Coming down toward the end. Last 20 strokes or so. California in pretty good shape for one of those slots. Open water out. 1 full length at least on Yale. Navy holding that 3rd slot, but being challenged on the outside a bit by Oregon State. Here we are at the line. California 1 full length. Yale, 2/3 of a length over Navy. Navy, best part of a half a length over Oregon State. So California, Yale, and the Naval Academy will advance. Drexel's still on the course. And Drexel now. Once again, California, Yale, and the Naval Academy move forward to the AB semis.
Coming back for the Varsity 4 Repechage, there are 4 reps of 6 crews each. 4 crews have already punched their ticket to the first and second semifinals. Those are California, Wisconsin, Washington, and MIT. They all won their respective heats this morning, sending these remaining 24 crews to the Repechage. The progression is as follows. The first 2 finishing crews from these reps will go on to the first and second semifinals. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th crews will go to the 3rd and 4th semifinals that will determine places 13 through 24. And the final last place finisher in each one of these reps will go to the 5th level final that will be for places 20 through 24. Sorry, 21 through 24. So starting with the 2-minute call, we have 6 crews that are getting locked on. In lane 1, we have the Milwaukee School of Engineering, lane 2, Yale, lane 3, BU, lane 4, Princeton, lane 5, Temple, and lane 6, Oklahoma. This should give us really some of the most interesting racing of the afternoon, because there's going to be a lot of movement. With only 1 winner coming from the heats, you would imagine that if you were a 3rd or 4th place crew, you may not have pushed the pedal all the way to the metal to finish as high as you could in the heat, so that you might have a little more to spend in this repechage. Also, with a little breath of headwind, the race is going to feel and go the entire distance, so we should see a lot of movement. So this is also one of the things that you may not be able to see from the starting vantage point, is that the whole starting platform from which the boats are attached, those platforms can all be moved to accommodate coxswains, pairs, and 8s. So now that we're set up for 4s, the crews are being poled.
Oklahoma City. Attention. Go.
And 6 boats are away and attacking this race course. Looks like we had a pretty clean start from lane 4, Princeton. Lane 1, Milwaukee School of Engineering. Putting in some good work here in the lane nearest us. They are level with Yale and level with BU. Princeton has a 3-seat lead. In lanes 5 and 6, we see Temple holding on to the 2nd place position. And as the crews stride, we're going to see whose base speed is most effective. but it is Princeton with your early lead, 1 minute into the race.
Princeton is leading this heat of the men's Varsity 4 rep number 1. And as I recall from earlier this morning, they shot out to a good lead in the beginning, but probably overrated themselves into to the reps this afternoon. So they're being a little more conservative this afternoon. They're stretching it out. I think they're probably more like 35, 36 right now. 34, look at that. So they learned a lesson this morning. Boston University is in second, but narrowly ahead of, I want to say, Temple in lane 2. Then it's almost a full length back to Yale. Yale has a couple of seats on Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's very close to level with Oklahoma, although I think Milwaukee has a seat on Oklahoma. Princeton continues to move out. They have open water now on Boston. Boston has 5 seats on Temple. Temple has almost a length now on Yale. We come up to 750 gone. The Tigers much more controlled now, and they probably like that a bit better too. 35 for the Tigers, stretching it out and then just defending. Boston University doing what they need to do, and they've got open water on Temple now. Let's see how many to go through. 2 to go through. So we have 2 to go through in this progression, according to my trusty resource and launch driver Bob Jockstetter. And the 2 who are clearly ahead now are Boston and Princeton, with Temple in third, but looking a little lethargic on the inside, but yet still ahead of 3 other crews. Let's see if they can do that. I mean, they have to do something soon, or it's going to be all too late to try and challenge Boston. Those 2 crews are a length of open water now ahead of the pack. So Temple is holding off Yale. Yale is holding off Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's holding off Oklahoma. We're getting some shouts from the coaches on the bike path. I think I see an orange shirt over there. That must surely be a Princeton coach. There being no other schools with orange in the race. And Princeton looks strong, but BU is not going to let them just lead them down the course. They're challenging. Nice connection and horizontal drive. I like the 3-man in the Boston boat. He's really connected right out, got his knees up into his chest, locking on and driving the boat past. 12:50 into the race, 7:50 to go. Boston is coming up on the Tigers, so it's not over yet for first place. And then Yale is taken over a strong third, but I think they're mounted a charge a little too late with about 6:50 to go. Milwaukee's hanging in there. Milwaukee's, I think, ahead of Temple now, so they would be in 4th place, Temple 5, Oklahoma 6. Let's see if Boston can challenge Princeton here, or if they're just going to row it out with 500 meters to go. Probably the smart money is to just row it out. They're so far ahead of the pack. We'll see if the coxswain there in fluorescent green for Boston is going to take a push. So get ready to hand it over to Dr. Clothier in the tower. Switch.
And into the last 500. In Heat 1, Varsity 4 with Boston University and Princeton pushing out here. Princeton in the lead. BU's pushed up onto them. They had about a length there for about 500 meters. Now it's something like a half length plus, but BU pulls up. This is 2 to advance now into the AB semi out of each one of these 4 with reps. So these first 2 places are the ones everyone wants, of course. Princeton in the lead, and they've led right from the first stroke. BU has pulled up a little closer, but both will advance. It remains to be seen whether any of the crews beyond the BU can get up and make it interesting, but it appears that it'll be BU and Princeton, and I should say the other way around, Princeton and BU moving forward to the AB semis tomorrow. We're down in the last 250 or less, and still holding the same order, BU, then Princeton. Perhaps a half a length in it right at the present. Maybe a little more. It looks like Princeton might have pulled out to more than 3/4 of a length. So decks overlapped as they come in here. And Princeton decides they're going to take it up a little bit, and they pull it out to about a length. So it's Princeton in the lead, now holding a little open water. BU's just staying low, staying long, and they'll bring it home in second place. Princeton right now, half a length of open back to BU right now. Yale looks like third place. Coming in with a little sprint here. It's Yale now. Temple in fourth. Fifth place, Milwaukee School of Engineering, and Oklahoma City in sixth place. So we have moving forward Princeton and Boston University. And we have some results for you here. Third Varsity 8s. Repechage 1. First, Cornell. Second, Dartmouth. Third, George Washington. Fourth, Pennsylvania. Fifth, Syracuse. And sixth, Hobart. And our second repechage for men's third Varsity 8s. First, California. Second, Yale. Third, Navy. Fourth, Oregon State. And fifth, Drexel. And both of those reps, three crews, numbers 1, 2, and 3, move forward to the AB semis.
The 2-minute call has been given for repechage number 2 of the Varsity 4s. Top 2 places will go to semifinal 1 and 2. Places 3, 4, and 5 will go to the third and fourth semifinals. And place number 6 will advance directly to the fifth level final. The lineups: Drexel, lane 1. Penn, lane 2. Holy Cross, lane 3. Columbia, lane 4. Navy, lane 5. And Loyola, Maryland, lane 6. Cost 4s being a heavier boat class, we should see some longer drive times, and so when we give you some of the stroke ratings, we know that it takes just that much more effort to row a clippy high rating. And so when you see some of these crews base rating at 36 to 38 strokes per minute in a Cox 4, you know they must be extremely physiologically prepared and are backing each other up really well. Please stand by for the start.
Drexel, Pennsylvania, Holy Cross, Columbia, Navy, Loyola, attention, go.
All of these crews are really trained to react as quickly as possible to generate force early. What they're trying to do is minimize any amount of slip and really get their hull up to maximum speed as quickly as possible. 30 seconds into the race, early leaders, Holy Cross from lane 3. Lane 2, Pennsylvania, is 1 seat back on Navy in lane 5. They hold a 2-seat advantage over Columbia. Loyola and Drexel are level through the 250-meter mark, 50 seconds in. Holy Cross leads, but they are going a little deep with their blades. They're looking very physical, and they're getting something out of it.
And the College of Holy Cross has got open water here by about 300 meters into this race, and they are shot out of a cannon. I think they're rowing a little higher than they probably should. Well, let's take a check on that. But they've got a quarter length of open, so they're going for the gold here early on, 36, and then it's very tightly packed among Navy, Columbia, and Pennsylvania. And then on the other side of the course is Loyola, slightly ahead of Drexel, about 3 seats up on Drexel. 500 meters gone. Holy Cross is treating this like the Olympics. They're out there, and they're going for the gold. Now Navy is putting in a press to get second firmly under control. And they're 2 seats up on Columbia. Columbia has 2 or 4, I'd say 4 seats up on Penn. Loyola's doing a nice job of staying in the race on the inside spectator shore. And then it's back to Drexel, just a little bit off the pace. Holy Cross are in a race by themselves here. You know, half a length open here. We're going to pull back just a little bit to get a better camera angle because we can't see anybody else in the race if we get too far ahead. Navy, 4 seats up on Columbia. Columbia 4 seats or 3 seats up on Penn. And then it's over to Loyola and Drexel, rounding out the field. Holy Cross must be having fun because it doesn't look like they're working that hard, and they're thumping it along and continue to stride out and lead this field coming up to the halfway point. Columbia's come back on Navy now. Columbia is challenging, as has Penn, so everybody took a little adjustment move there just before the 1,000. And all 3 of those boats are beating the golf cart on the inside shore. So good for these guys. Manpower is better than golf cart power any day. Holy Cross continues to lead by 3/4 open, and now Navy's trying to assert themselves again. But it's, throw a blanket over the bows, as we used to say. You can't separate them. Maybe Penn is inching forward here. I'd give Penn the advantage at this point. Got some big, strong lads in the Quaker striped shirts there, coming from the Schuylkill River, a fine tradition of rowing at Pennsylvania. Now Columbia is taking a push, and Navy is falling back a little bit. Holy Cross is steady as she goes. 12:50 into the race. The other 2 crews are trailing. That would be Drexel and Loyola. They're open water back and out of contention. The Crusaders out front. And a great race between Penn and Columbia. Navy has not, pardon the expression, given up the ship yet. They are pressing on, trying to get back into the qualifying position here. But it's been, it'll be two from this this race that'll advance. So it's a very exciting finish. Don't miss it. Columbia and Penn fans in particular, with 600 meters, not even 550 meters to go. And they're getting a big boost of enthusiasm from the Regatta Point. And it looks like Columbia has a seat on Penn now. Great race for that second spot. So Holy Cross is being threatened slightly by the crews because of their speed to get into the final. So turn your eyes to the water, audience, or at home, watch this exciting finish.
And in the last 500, Holy Cross way out in front. Great battle going on for the second qualifying slot between Columbia and Penn. Navy's been up in there also in that battle, but right now is not part of the picture. Holy Cross well out in front. Penn challenging Columbia for that second slot in the last 25 to 30 strokes here or less. So it's going to be a battle. Two go forward. The rest will be in the reps. Excuse me, the rest will be in the CD final. This is for the AB semis tomorrow. Holy Cross out in front. Columbia and Penn fighting it out for that second slot. Still Holy Cross. Still a battle for that second slot. Holy Cross is not taking that rate up. They're just going to come home at mid-course pace. Looks like Penn has pulled up into Columbia. It's very close. Columbia's running it up there, so let's see what happens. And Navy's giving a good run up here, too. The rate goes up. We'll see what happens at the end here. Holy Cross, right now. Oh, boy, it's going to be close, but it's Penn. Then Columbia, and one length back, the Naval Academy. And on the far side, Drexel coming in 5th. And Loyola of Maryland here in the near lane in 6th place. So Holy Cross and Pennsylvania will advance to the AB semis. And in the men's varsity fours, rep number 1. First place, Princeton. Second place, BU. Third place, Yale. Fourth place, Temple. Fifth place, the Milwaukee School of Engineering. And sixth place, Oklahoma City.
Okay, back at the start, the 2016 IRA National Championships. Thank you to those of you who are following along on YouTube.
2 minutes.
Really awesome to see the support that you have for your respective alma maters, or for your children or family members that are racing it up here and putting it on the line. We've just had the 2-minute call for repechage number 3. Lane 1, Washington College. Lane 2, Brown. Lane 3, Georgetown. Lane 4, Cornell. Lane 5, Stanford. And Lane 6, Fairfield, which is in the lane furthest from the camera. Top 2 finishers to the first and second semifinal. 3rd, 4th, and 5th will advance to the 3rd and 4th semifinal, and the last place crew will go to the 5th level final. We've been having this discussion here in the camera blind that many of these crews will be coached by assistant coaches that are usually the unheralded and unsung heroes of their programs, the people that are doing a lot of the recruiting, a lot of the logistical work, and coaching and developing these younger athletes to hopefully take places in the varsity and second varsity later on. But this is a chance for them to see who can earn some valuable points towards the 10 Ike Point Trophy, and also the Most Improved Trophy at the IRA.
Washington College. Brown.
Crews are being pulled.
Georgetown. Cornell. Stanford. Fairfield. Attention. Go.
Long pause there between the attention and go call, but we are underway as the referee launches pull in behind the crews, and we are 15 seconds into the race. In the first 10 to 15 strokes, we see a very aggressive start from Georgetown in lane 3, who have generated an early lead. In the near lane, Washington College putting in some good work. Some crews already striding down to base rating. Georgetown in first. Cornell and Washington College are in second and third place respectively. Brown and Stanford battling for fourth and fifth, and Fairfield in lane 6 trails.
4, 3, 2, 1,
And the Hoyas from Georgetown are leading this race over Cornell by 4 or 5 seats, then closely followed by Washington College under the expert tutelage of Mike Davenport. I understand it's Mike's last year, so Mike, good job. These guys are in the hunt. Then it's over to, I want to say it's over to Stanford in 4th position, about 4 seats up on Brown. Then it's over to the far side again to Fairfield. So the Hoyas and Cornell are out front, those two crews leading the way at the moment, but it looks like Stanford is challenging Washington College now. They're trying to come up, but Washington is, I think they're dead level. So, but the Hoyas are under pressure right now from Cornell, the Big Red. We've got about 7:50 into the race coming up. We're not quite there yet. Let's see whose technique can hold up after the anaerobic acid starts to flow. Lactic acid, I should say. So it's Georgetown under pressure, and indeed Cornell has come up and is only 2 seats away from taking the lead away from the Hoyas. They have open water over Stanford and Washington College. Washington College maybe slipped into 4th, but just by a little bit. And Brown has started to challenge Washington College a bit. Fairfield is trailing. Well, coming up to halfway, Cornell is about to wrest the lead from the Hoyas, and they have. They're a seat up now on Georgetown, and if Georgetown doesn't perk up, they're under attack by Stanford. Stanford's bow is now at the stroke of Georgetown. So here we are at the 1,000, and Cornell will pass through the barrier first. Imaginary for us here in the announcer's launch. There's a line of red buoys through which the hulls pass. Cornell now 4 seats up over the Hoyas. The Hoyas about 6 seats up over Stanford. Stanford about 3 or 4 seats up, 3 seats up on Washington College. And Brown has tried to make a push there, has slipped back again. They're about 3 seats behind Washington College. Cornell, steady as she goes, was trailing the Hoyas by as much as a length, and now have reversed that margin, and so they're looking strong going into the 7:50 to go. The Hoyas taking their rating up a little bit, making sure that Stanford doesn't get too close to threatening them, because you don't want to have one bad stroke and then all of a sudden find yourself out of a qualifying spot. The all-important third 500, where the hard work is done. Cornell looking strong and sitting up. Don't seem to have exhausted all their resources just yet. And the Hoyas holding on comfortably to second. Good strong catches from the Hoyas. Stanford really tried hard to get back into it, and in the middle of that middle 1,000, I thought made a good run at it, but just were not able to convert it. Washington College has been right alongside them. Brown is trying to come up now to challenge Washington College. So 500 meters to go. I don't think there's going to be any change in positions here other than maybe between 4 and 5. So Rick, get ready to take over for me here as Cornell leads the pack.
And into the last 500. It's Cornell leading, followed by Georgetown in second place. And once again, it's 2 crews to qualify out of these reps into the AB semis. And right now, that would be Cornell and then Georgetown. Third place has been and continues to be, I believe, Stanford, who got a little overlap on George Washington, or on Georgetown at one point, but Georgetown was have none of that. Picked up a 10 and pulled back up into Cornell a bit, and in the process put Stanford a little bit further back. There's open water back to those crews now. So it's in first place Cornell, second place Georgetown. We're looking at 25 strokes or less to go. Cornell, then Georgetown. Cornell, Georgetown. Cornell about a length up. Georgetown, I believe, open water up on everyone else. Cornell. Just a couple of strokes to the finish line, and it's Cornell a little open water now. Georgetown's going to hold off Stanford, who's just got a deck or so on Washington College over there. Did a nice job of finishing up, and then Brown. So the two crews that will advance to the AB are Cornell and Georgetown. And on the course, just wrapping it up right now, Fairfield. Continuing on with men's varsity 4 results. Repechage 2, first place Holy Cross, second place Pennsylvania, third place Columbia, fourth place Navy, fifth Drexel, and sixth Loyola of Maryland.
Okay, here we are for the 250 race, which is the 4th repechage of the men's varsity 4. Even though I guess it's beginning to get a little redundant for me to say men's varsity 4. It is the varsity 4, repechage 4. Lane 1 will be Jacksonville, lane 2 Marist, lane 3 Harvard, lane 4 Dartmouth, lane 5 Marietta, and lane 6 Santa Clara. We've had the 2-minute call. And as we look at the athletes prepping for the start, you can see them giving each other a final handshake or a pat on the back as they prepare to really race for one of these first and second qualifying positions. It's not often you get a chance to call a lineup like this with Jacksonville, Marist, Marietta, and Santa Clara racing against traditional powers from Harvard and Dartmouth. But that's the beauty of the IRA. The wind maybe has picked up to 4 to 5 miles per hour, but still almost nothing. And actually, we're getting the call that it's 2 miles an hour here at the start, with gusts up to 7.
Marietta, Santa Clara, attention. Go.
And the final race is underway. You can hear the coxswains yelling out the lengths of starting strokes. But at this point in the season, every one of these athletes will know exactly how they want to execute the start, how they want to drive and accelerate their hull to peak speed. And what we're seeing here is that the experience from Harvard is helping. Lane 3 in the first 35 seconds has generated a 2-seat lead. Jacksonville in lane 1, rowing a boat named the Harry Mahan, famed rowing coach that helped Cambridge and the British national team. And as the crews get through 250 meters, we are already beginning to see some significant separation as the field spreads out. Over to you, Fred and Bob.
And Harvard is leading this last rep by open water here, clearly at about not even 200 meters into the race. So they shot out very quickly, and then it's tightly packed with Jacksonville here in lane 1, Marist, Marietta College, and then on the far side, Santa Clara. So everyone running hard here. Marist, I guess, would be slightly back in lane 2. Harvard is just taken off, is similar to the last race where, at least in the beginning, Georgetown had clear water and then got rowed down by Cornell. But now we've got lane 5 kicking in, Marietta College, and they are taking over that second place from Jacksonville. Jacksonville in lane 1 in the green singlets, if you will. And being closely followed, Dartmouth is also in this contest, and they're running in a tie for, well, I'd say they're in 4th, just slightly behind Jacksonville. But then Santa Clara is giving Dartmouth a little trouble there too. So Santa Clara trying to come up on them as well. Harvard, it's all Harvard as they continue to lead by a length and a half open water. So good for the boys from Boston. They look pretty controlled, very smooth. And lane 5, Marietta College is in a firm second place, also looking similarly relaxed. It's always good to look relaxed in the second 500. Dartmouth starting to press a little bit and has taken over sole possession of third place as they pass through the 1,000-meter mark right there. They've got a deck on Santa Clara. So the field is stretching out, particularly the leaders, Harvard and Marietta College, being open water ahead of the rest of the field. Dartmouth now is trying to take over from Jacksonville that third spot, but there's a long way to catch up to second and the qualifying position. Coming up to the 1750 mark. I'm sorry, 1250 mark. It is still Harvard passes through first, 750 to go. Marietta College in second, Jacksonville third now. They've taken a bit of a push to get ahead of Dartmouth and the rest of the pack. Yep, Jacksonville has really turned on the Jets here in lane 1. And they're taking over the third place position. And Dartmouth is fighting it out with Marist and Santa Clara. Harvard, oh my gosh, away they go. Last race of the afternoon here. And Harvard looks like they're out for a steady state row. It's very impressive. So their skill is evident here as they move the boat seemingly effortlessly down the course. And Marietta College is trying to make a similar appearance here as they have a good solid length of open water ahead of Jacksonville. It's beginning to tighten up now for the trailing 4 crews. Marist College has come up a bit to challenge. Santa Clara is not far off the pace. They are running in 6th, but not far behind. And so I won't talk about Harvard so much anymore. They're kind of in a zone, a zip code of their own out there, if you will. But Marietta College has done a nice job. They're going to qualify for the semi. And Dartmouth now is perked up, and they've taken over third. But I'm afraid they're not going to catch Marietta College at this point. Jacksonville's taken their rating up. Marist has taken their rating up. So the kids are starting to empty the tank here. Jacksonville rowing the Harry Mahan.
And we're in the last 250 with Harvard comfortably out in front for that first slot. Marietta has held that second slot all the way through and still looks money, but everyone's trying to pull back up on them. We've got Jacksonville flying the forward. Everybody wants that second slot, but it looks like it's going to be Marietta who's held serve all the way out. Here's Cornell. Here's Harvard right at the line, way out in front. There they are. Two open maybe. Here's that Marietta College crew. Welcome back to the IRA. Second place, moving forward to the AB semi. Dartmouth in third. Too close to call on the far side for fourth and fifth. Marist here. We'll straighten out that close call on the far side in just a moment. But moving forward, it will be Harvard and Marietta College. I believe that's now Marietta University. Marietta University. And we have the results for the men's third repechage for varsity fours. First place, Cornell. Second place, Georgetown. Third place, Stanford. Fourth place, Washington College. Fifth place, Brown. And sixth place, Fairfield. Cornell and Georgetown will move forward to the AB semis. We'll ask our audience to just hold for a moment for the final results of the final repechage in the men's varsity four with. We should have them momentarily. And the results for our final race of this afternoon. First place, Harvard. Second place, Marietta. Third place, Dartmouth. Fourth place, Marist. Fifth place, Jacksonville. And sixth place, Santa Clara. Harvard and Marietta then will move forward to that AB semi tomorrow. And we've had a wonderful day of racing. You've been treated to some especially fast racing with wonderful rowing conditions. We hope for more for tomorrow, and we will see you at 8:30 in the morning for our second day of racing in the 2016 IRA. Goodbye for now.